Hello, and welcome to Stock Takes with Katana. This podcast series is about growth strategies for SMBs dealing with physical goods, whether that's an e-commerce store or a manufacturer. Today we have Taago, a senior product manager at Katana, who has a wealth of experience in manufacturing, as well as developing features that help businesses plan for demand. So, Taago, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Sarah. And thank you for having me in this podcast. I am Taago. I am the senior product manager in Katana Cloud Inventory. My responsibilities are in planning and forecasting and in manufacturing. And in Katana, I've been helping thousands of customers in their daily planning and also in their manufacturing business, helping them keeping their stock in bay.
Before you entered the world of software development and inventory solutions, what was your role and what did you do? Because I know that you have a background in a manufacturing business, managing production.
Was decades of manufacturing in electronics company, exactly on an SMB size. And although it was a global company, and I was pioneering the lean manufacturing concept there, and also helped to establish a new ERP software to the company.
So what were your biggest challenges while you were working in manufacturing, particularly with implementing lean manufacturing processes?
When implementing lean manufacturing processes in manufacturing, the biggest challenge that laid ahead was, of course, as almost any change, the resistance of the team. And that was one heavy thing to overcome, as it tended to be something that was conceptually new for people who thought that efficiently is being built on top of streamlining some kind of process rather than streamlining the thinking behind your own tasks that you do, whether you are doing something in the most efficient way or you are producing waste because process tells you to produce some kind of waste in your work or wasting your time, which is actually the most or the biggest influencer of killing efficiency.
And going from that sort of focus on efficiency and production to right now, where your day-to-day is helping businesses plan for demand and paying attention to supply chain disruption, as well as the technologies that can help businesses mitigate that risk. So how did you end up focused on what you are today?
My first touch with planning and forecasting was in that same manufacturing company a decade ago, when we realized that we are not as efficient of planning our inventory as we wanted to be. We tended to overstock our equipment quite a lot, and we missed a lot of order deadlines as well because we did not plan ahead. And how the planning part started for me was trying to first understand that why are we not efficient enough in our planning. And the realization came from there that our products and their bills of materials are so scattered that we don't even have any sort of historical patterns of our components that we had to use in our manufacturing. So the planning part actually started to as a project of standardizing our products. And once we achieved sufficient level of standardization in our products, that meant that the same components were ordered repeatedly time and time again. And it started to form really, really nice patterns. So we were able to start predicting how much of something we need, which meant that in the end, our lead time that we used for manufacturing our products, actually it started from designing the end products. Our lead time for manufacturing the products used to be 12 weeks as a plane. So it took 3 months to basically design and source components and produce the product. With the standardization efforts and with sufficient planning, we had all the necessary components available, which meant that about 2 years later, when we took the project, we ended up in 4 to 5 weeks lead time. So we cut our time more than twice by just doing that simple thing.
So when we talk about going about the process of demand planning, forecasting to address exactly those challenges, so longer lead time and not the most efficient setup for your bills of materials, how would companies, because it's a common pain, growing businesses who are seeing that rising demand actually start to implement the right forecasting measures?
When you think about how to start to implement the right forecasting measures, then one thing I already mentioned about having sufficient standardization in your products, that your components start to form some sort of trends. But when you already have that, then of course you may start thinking about that. What should I do now? How do I identify what should I order and what should I not order? Then first of all, you should try to understand the historical trends. What has happening to your products? What has been happening to your materials? And are they forming sufficient patterns for you to make any decisions based on them? And once you have been able to understand these trends, then you can start subjectively assessing that if this happened in the past, does it going to happen in the future? Or if you don't believe in this, then try to evaluate what do I need to do differently this time to either increase, decrease, be more efficient, and try to just validate the history based on your current knowledge.
And when it comes to historical data, just how far back in the past would a business need to look to be able to make reasonably accurate or valuable predictions?
Mm-hmm. I would say that when you want to do sufficient predictions for the future, then the rule of thumb is that you should look at least 1 year into the history, because that would give you a sort of seasonal patterns. This would also give you sudden peaks that are happening repeatedly year over year. So one example would be Black Friday sales. That's a sudden peak that happens. You want to know how it was last year to start making sure what is going to happen this year.
So for businesses that have a lot of messy historical data, let's say that for whatever reason they swap solutions or they didn't have an actual inventory solution in place, working with spreadsheets, things happen. How would you address that, or how would you go about dealing with data like this when trying to implement the right forecasting procedures?
I would say that if your data is messy, it can happen in several ways, of course. It can happen that one product has a really messy data because there was some occasion in the past that caused this messy data. Of course, if you change solution, you may have also messy data from beginning of last year. I would say it this way, that unless you can rely on the trend that emerged last year, so unless you can do that, I would suggest discarding that data. As if you have really clean data for 3 months past year, I would use that data. And if there are fluctuations that you just don't understand, that doesn't make any sense for the first 9 months of the year, just discard it and make a subjective assessment of what is going to happen with that product.
So when we talk about technology that supports forecasting and planning, there's a lot of variance between, simple solutions, more robust and complex solutions. So what should a small to medium-sized business look for? What would they need?
For small to medium-sized business, the complexity and robustness of forecasting, I would say it should not be very complex, because it is becoming inefficient if you try to be 100% accurate in everything. Usually Pareto principle 80-90 is good enough, and you will still make profit with that. So if you are thinking about the tooling and bells and whistles you want to have, then generally I would always suggest first try using spreadsheets. And by using spreadsheets, you can test out a whole bunch of different scenarios for your future predictions. Even though you may not have the very good trends from the past, you can still play around with the future. And once you are sufficiently aware of where you want to be, then I would suggest looking for a pre-made tool that will help you building your historical trends and building your future forecast. But these tools out there are abundance of them, have sometimes a lot of bells and whistles. And the question was exactly the robustness of the tool you should be looking for. I would say that usually the kind of bare minimum have a historical trends that are cleaned enough properly to eliminate sudden peaks and sudden low demand periods is enough to understand what has been happening with that item in the past. And looking into the future, a safety level and proper reordering cycle with the quantity what you need to reorder, that should be all the complexity you need. Because in forecasting or in planning, actually, let's use this word, you need a lot more subjective evaluation than any tools telling you what they predict.
Mm-hmm. On the topic of robust technologies that aren't necessarily helpful, so I don't think you can have a conversation about anything tech related without asking about AI. And as of right now, how can AI support planning and forecasting? Is there a place for it?
I would say that when we talk about AI, as of now, considering all the limitations the tools out there at this point have, then a very good use case for the current AI tools are querying informations, making a certain level of predictions where you need to make a decision as a human and action upon it would be the level of complexity it can currently offer. And of course, after you have made the decision, then AI can help you somewhat again. But it doesn't take away the entire process of querying data, doing mathematics, and also doing decisions for you. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't do that yet.
Yes, there are a lot of limitations right now, but considering the pace of development, so where do you personally see AI playing a role in demand planning, let's say in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? So what's the future outlook that you expect to see?
The future outlook for the AI, in my opinion, we have two kind of outlooks that I could predict at this point. One prediction is that AI tools will have much better mathematical algorithms behind them. So it can actually start doing evaluation of your historical trends, and not only evaluate them based on a given algorithm, but find hidden patterns that you might not find with any pre-made algorithm. And also it can help you in a decision making by predicting certain numbers where you can rely on it fully, and it will potentially do a little bit better forecast if you give it sufficient subjective input as well than you would do as a human being. But another way which is much more interesting for me is the possibility for AI to build ecosystem. So for example, imagine being an SMB company and having a supplier who is a multinational big company. The best leverage when you try to purchase something from them that you get at the moment is potentially you can get access to their e-com store and buy something with the counter price. So you don't get any discussion with them about the terms. But when we talk about big multinational manufacturers, they get whole different terms with these big suppliers, and they get much better or they get much bigger competitive advantage. But now imagine that there is an AI tool that combines hundreds of companies like you together and leverages the demand you have, multiplying it by hundreds, and then you would go together to that multinational supplier. You would get whole different terms when buying something from them, which means that you would gain the same competitive advantage than the big multinational manufacturing company, which in the end means that SMBs would have a much better market position again as they used to have 100 years ago.
And on the topic of trends, so we went over technology quite a bit, but what about the trends around supply chain resilience? There's a lot of talk around reshoring. Is that something you see having a big impact on businesses?
The reshoring and resiliency of supply chain have been something that especially the reshoring has been a big hype in recent years, and resiliency as well. We have heard a lot about supply chain issues throughout the globe. I would say they are still ongoing things, and although the hype about reshoring is gone, the real business of that is actually just starting. So we are seeing more and more of this, even though we are not talking about this that much. What I see or predict is that the logistics doesn't get much easier anymore. It used to be fairly easy, and it used to be so that you're producing something or you're sourcing something from Asia. You get really cheap labor prices there, and you get really cheap energy prices to ship them over the ocean and then use them, and they are still going to be more cost efficient than locally sourced goods. That's not the case anymore. We have seen first the supply chain issues have brought a lot more risks. As we may remember, there was a cargo ship stuck in Suez Canal a few years ago. These things occur because our globe is not a peaceful place anymore. And that means that sourcing goods locally is much more risk-free and much more cost-efficient as well, or becoming much more cost-efficient.
Mm-hmm. So, wrapping all of this up, what would be your 3 tips for small businesses who are struggling with both macro trends, internal struggles, getting that buy-in, implementing the right systems? So, how would you advise them to go about taking a more methodical approach to planning and forecasting?
If I would have 3 tips to share about what a SMB company should be doing in their planning and forecasting, then the first one would be understanding the external factors that are affecting your business, because these are some things that you really can't influence much, but understanding what is happening around you will help you make much better decisions. The other thing is try to evaluate your sales or demand history and try to form some sort of patterns there. Understand your seasonality, your fluctuations. And third, and potentially the most important suggestion there would be to using this information, create a proper financial plan for the year to come. But as a CEO or a CFO, stop there. Don't go any deeper yet into this plan. Try to get information from people on the field. Listen to your salespeople, what they say about the products that they are going to sell. Let them fulfill that financial plan with the exact item categories that they are going to sell, what kind of marketing effort need to be done in order to fulfill that plan. And then come together, see whether this plan fulfills what you expect as a financial goal for the company. If it doesn't, reiterate, go back to the drawing board, try to find additional things, or let your team find additional things. Listen to them, create a new plan, and when you are satisfied with it, then go for it, and you have the full buy-in from the entire team.
Very solid, practical advice. Well, thank you so much, Taago. It was lovely hearing all of your wisdom and insight into the world of planning and forecasting.
Thank you, Sarah, for having me.